On Christmas Eve, he turned on every single light in his house. He pretended he wasn't lonely, but the butler's kind greeting shattered his facade in an instant. He wondered how he'd get through the rest of Christmas Eve once the butler left. Only when he heard the front door click shut did he drop that. He let out a long sigh. The room was eerily quiet. On any other night, he'd already be fast asleep by now. Instead, he twirled the stone the butler had left behind in his fingers. He found himself missing Tom already. Meanwhile, Tom's home was the complete opposite. He gently pushed open the door and was immediately wrapped in his family's warmth. His eyes then landed on his wife. Not long ago, Tom had been working at a bar, but after tonight, he'd have to pack his things and head home. The bar was closing for months of renovations. That meant he was about to lose his only source of income. When Tom got home, he closed the door quietly and carefully to shake off his exhaustion. He grabbed a bottle of expired milk and chugged it down. When he woke up the next morning, he was shocked to see two black men in his house. His wife had called them over to fix the plumbing, but when he watched his wife offer them glasses of water, he couldn't hold back his disgust. Because Tom hated black people more than anything, he threw the glasses to the floor without hesitation. Tom's wife stared at the broken cups, then thought about their poverty-stricken home. Reluctantly, she bent down to pick up the pieces. Just then, the phone rang, a call that would change Tom's life forever. The person on the other end told him a doctor was looking for a driver. After hanging up, Tom headed to the meeting spot. He was stunned to find out it was a concert hall. This was a place for high society, a place he never would have set foot in a million years. As soon as he walked into the room, he was blown away by what he saw. He knew the owner of this place had to be someone really important. The butler led him to meet his new boss, but Tom never could have imagined that his employer would be a black man, the very people he hated most. Their Saturday, the distinguished black man, and below him stood the lowly white driver. Dr. Shirley asked if he was willing to drive. Tom said he'd drive any car, anywhere. Then Dr. Shirley explained what the job entailed. He said he was going on a concert tour, and most of the shows would be in the Deep South, where racism ran rampant. He'd picked up on Tom's hostile micro-expressions earlier, so he asked point blank, "Are you willing to work for a black man?" Tom still said yes. He could handle all the driving duties, but when Dr. Shirley mentioned he'd also have to shine his shoes and do his laundry, Tom was instantly repulsed. He made up his mind. He wasn't taking this job. When Tom got home, his wife asked about the interview. Even though Tom told her the pay was great, one simple sentence made his wife realize he'd turned it down. But the next day, Dr. Shirley called again. He agreed to all of Tom's demands and even checked in with Tom's wife to get her approval. Tom knew the job was a done deal. To make sure their trip went smoothly, Dr. Shirley handed Tom a green book. It was basically a guide for black travelers in the segregated South. In that part of the country where racism was so severe, black people couldn't get by without it. Before leaving, Tom hugged his kids and his wife tightly, and just like that, the unlikely pair of black man and a white man set off on their journey. Doc worried about leaving his precious car in the hands of a careless driver like Tom. Dr. Shirley kept emphasizing his strict requirements. The piano for every show had to be a Steinway, and a bottle of whiskey had to be waiting in his hotel room every night. Tom drove recklessly, and it annoyed Dr. Shirley to no end. Doc was afraid Tom would do something stupid, so he asked Dr. Shirley a question in Russian, thinking Tom wouldn't understand, but Tom could actually pick up a little bit of what he said. He told Dr. Shirley he was a reliable driver. As fallen leaves chased the car's wheels, Tom still did whatever he pleased. He pulled over to the side of the road and hopped out to take a leak. Dr. Shirley watched it all, helpless but resigned. When prejudice clashes with dignity on the open road, this trip to the South was bound to be anything but ordinary. After checking into the hotel, Dr. Shirley went to his room and sipped his whiskey, but loneliness lingered, impossible to shake off. The railings around him were meant to protect him, but they also felt like a cage. Tom watched him quietly from the side. He realized this man was nothing like the other black people he'd met before. After the show, they rested for a while, then continued heading south. Tom didn't forget his wife's request, started writing her letters. In them, he found himself saying good things about Dr. Shirley. When they passed a convenience store, Tom pulled over to buy cigarettes. Inside, he spotted some beautiful jade stones on display. One of them fell to the floor. While the clerk wasn't looking, Tom snatched it up and pocketed it. Dr. Shirley made him put it back immediately. Reluctantly, Tom returned the stone. Their argument wasn't just about a piece of jade, it was a clash of values. Having lived his life surrounded by racism, Dr. Shirley valued his dignity above all else. That's why he always followed the rules and respected order. But Tom came from a working-class background. He had a more flexible sense of right and wrong. He cared more about getting what he needed than playing by the book. These little conflicts pushed Tom to think twice about his ways, and they made Dr. Shirley a little more willing to bend the rules too. At their second concert stop, Dr. Shirley played his heart out on stage when the audience erupted in applause. He smiled. That's why he agreed to this tour of the South. As they worked together more and more, their conversations grew easier and more natural. Tom got excited when he spotted a Kentucky Fried Chicken up ahead. Dr. Shirley wasn't interested in fried chicken at all, but Tom bought a family bucket anyway, eager to share it with him. Back then, forcing fried chicken on a black person was a racist stereotype in America, so Dr. Shirley refused to eat it at first, but after Tom kept urging him, he finally gave in and took a bite. The farther south they traveled, the worse the racism became. Most hotels turned Dr. Shirley away, refusing to let a black man stay. He had to rely on the Green Book to find places that would take him in, but those motels were dirty and run down. He had no choice but to make do. One night, just as Tom was about to fall asleep, a loud knock on the door jolted him awake. Dr. Shirley was trapped in a nearby bar, surrounded by a group of thugs. Tom just wanted to get him out of there fast. When the situation turned tense, the bar owner pulled out a shotgun. The bullies had no choice but to back off and watch them leave. The next day, Dr. Shirley pulled himself together and gave another amazing performance. Tom was genuinely impressed, but he also felt a twinge of sadness and pity for him. Their journey went on. When they reached the next stop, Dr. Shirley finished his show and needed to use the restroom during intermission. Someone pointed him toward an outhouse behind the venue. Reluctantly, Dr. Shirley had to drive all the way back to his motel just to use a clean toilet. Tom didn't get why he was being so stubborn. A toilet was a toilet, wasn't it? But after the show, Dr. Shirley acted like nothing had happened, chatting and laughing as usual. Tom was totally confused. The next day, Tom was writing another letter to his wife, and Dr. Shirley couldn't help but tease him about his messy grammar. Then he offered to teach Tom how to write proper, heartfelt letters. In the middle of the night, Tom got a frantic phone call. Dr. Shirley had been arrested and thrown in jail. Tom rushed to the police station right away. When he got there, he saw Dr. Shirley handcuffed to a white man, both of them half naked. Tom quickly figured out what had happened, but he didn't have time to be shocked. His first priority was hushing up the scandal. He sweet-talked and bribed the officers until they agreed to let Dr. Shirley go. But Dr. Shirley, humiliated and angry, didn't appreciate Tom's help at all. All he wanted was a little comfort from Tom. Instead, Tom lectured him about what he'd done wrong. Dr. Shirley didn't want to hear "I just got in the car and slammed the door." Deep down, Dr. Shirley wanted to thank Tom, but years of feeling inferior had made him lash out with hurtful words instead. When they reached their next destination, Tom noticed the bruises on Dr. Shirley's face. He offered to get him some foundation to cover them up, but Dr. Shirley already had some with him. Back in his room, he applied the makeup, hiding the cuts and the shame along with them. Then he broke down and cried. He stared at himself in the mirror, realizing that being beaten up was just part of his daily life as a black man in America. A little while later, Tom was about to head out when he found Dr. Shirley waiting for him at the door. He tried to sound like a boss, putting on a tough front even though he was scared of losing Tom. Finally, Dr. Shirley swallowed his pride and apologized. For a man as proud as him, it was a huge step. Luckily, Tom accepted his apology with a simple line, "I know this world's a complicated place." It was exactly what Dr. Shirley had needed to hear that night. After that, they spent more time talking real, honest talks, like old friends. Before they knew it, Christmas was right around the corner. Tom's wife had already started decorating the Christmas tree. They had to finish the tour quickly so Tom could make it home for Christmas. But as they drove, a heavy rainstorm hit, and out of nowhere, the police pulled them over. It was supposed to be a routine check, but when the officers saw Dr. Shirley in the back seat, his whole attitude changed. Dr. Shirley lost his temper and punched the officers. That one punch landed both of them in jail again. Dr. Shirley called his lawyer. Within minutes, the police let them go. On the drive, Tom joked about the whole incident, but every word felt like a knife to Dr. Shirley's heart, because Tom's simple, happy life was exactly what he'd always wanted. It told Tom to pull over and got out of the car, walking straight into the pouring rain. For the first time, he let his guard down and poured out all his pain. Years of anger and frustration came rushing out like a flood. He lived in a fancy house, but he was a lonely artist, trapped in his own skin. He had talent that everyone admired, but he was still just a man who craved love and acceptance. After hearing all that, Tom finally understood. He finally saw the pain behind Dr. Shirley's calm exterior. When they got back on the road, they checked into the same motel that night. Tom just wanted Dr. Shirley to know he wasn't alone. Then they reached the final stop of their tour. For black people, this city was one of the most dangerous places in the South. The venue manager seemed friendly enough at first, but then he led Dr. Shirley to a dirty storage room to get ready for his performance. A room where no one cared about him even though he was about to play the most beautiful music of the night. Doc watched Tom seethe with anger. Realizing he still didn't get it, he put out his cigarette and told Tom the truth about Dr. Shirley's struggles. This time, Tom finally got it. That night, they went to a tiny, run-down bar in the neighborhood. Their fancy clothes made them stick out like sore thumbs in the shabby place. Tom told the crowd that Dr. Shirley was a world-class pianist. Encouraged by everyone's cheers, Dr. Shirley walked straight to the stage. He chose to play Chopin's Op. 25. 11 The Winter Wind, and for the first time on the whole trip, he smiled a genuine, happy smile, because here, in this little bar, he was just a pianist playing for people who loved his music, not a black man judged by the color of his skin. After leaving the bar, Dr. Shirley decided they'd head back to New York right away. He knew Tom had promised his wife he'd be home for Christmas. They drove nonstop through the night, but a thick blanket of snow covered the roads, making it impossible to keep their promise. Just when things seemed hopeless, the police pulled them over again. After their previous run-ins, both of them were terrified, but to their surprise, the officers was kind. He just told them their rear tire was flat and driving on it would be dangerous. The world will always have racism, but there will also be people who are willing to lend a hand when you need it most. It was those small acts of kindness that kept Dr. Shirley going. Before long, a car pulled up on the streets of New York, but this time, Dr. Shirley was behind the wheel. Tom was fast asleep in the back seat. Dr. Shirley dropped Tom off at his house first, then he headed home himself, turning on every light in his big, empty house. Meanwhile, Tom couldn't stop thinking about Dr. Shirley as he sat her day by the fire. When someone knocked on the door, he hoped it was Dr. Shirley. He was disappointed when he saw it was just a neighbor, but then a second knock came, and there stood Dr. Shirley. Tom's wife walked to the door. She looked at him, and he looked back at her. No one said a word, but they both knew exactly who he was. A piano can't make music with only white keys, and the world isn't just black and white either. Breaking down prejudice doesn't take much. Sometimes, all it takes is one honest conversation, one moment of seeing each other, truly seeing each other.